short presentation about our personal approach of how we audit as a team, why you should be in a team when you're auditing, and general tips for even auditing solo, but mostly about team approaches and why, in our opinion, it's much better than doing things solo. So first, we're going to talk just a little bit about ourselves. So people know who we are. Nick, you can start.
Okay, so hi to you all. First of all, I want to say thank you to OpenSense and Misanthropic for having us with you today. Yeah, I think we will be helpful for all of you guys because we have to share a lot of mistakes that we have done, and you can avoid that. So a little bit background for me. I have a previous Web 2 development experience and a little bit of Web 3, but honestly, it is nothing special. Web 2, I have been junior backend developer and a mid developer, quantitative developer, different C5 stuff, but maybe the whole development experience for me was something like a year and a half, I think. And I don't have a specific background in mathematics or informational or computer science or anything like that. So yes, I want you guys to know that anybody can do this space if you have the motivation and the persistence. So the most more important part of my past is how I started Web3 security. It was the summer of 2023, and it was through the Peshov's Bulgarian Discord server, which is maybe the start for many Bulgarian rockstar auditors. It's really helpful. You meet different Bulgarian auditors there, you chat in your native language. It is really helpful, and it is pushing you further to progress in the space. You have resources, you have help from more experience, you can help to new guys. It is really good. So I started in summer 2023 because I have been in this server for maybe a year, and I've been checking from time to time, and Web3 channel was the most active one, and maybe from time to time, maybe 2 or 3 months, new people were starting to post their results, and I was like, oh my god, they are progressing so fast, because I see new guys on, how I said, 2 or 3 months. Then I see after 1 or 2 months, they are posting how they create contests and stuff like that. So I thought to myself, maybe it isn't so hard, because in the beginning I thought Web3 blockchain, it sounds complex and hard. And beginning of 2023 was the moment when I decided, let's give it a try. I started after Ethereum, some Patrick Collins videos, some smart track programmer videos, and I'm not a big fan of raw theory, so I wanted to start on contest as fast as possible. And maybe a month after my first video blockchain development, I started contests in Code Hoax. It was the first contest in Code Hoax. It was like easy one, because it was like more of an engagement, but it was a good boost for me, because I managed to find some issues, like, but for really small pot. Then on my second or third contest, I did placed well. It was again in Code Hoax, and I was in top 3, I think, and it was really motivating. And then I remember that me and Dad started at the same time. We both started from this community, and we saw ourselves, we saw each other chatting in contest channels, and we started to DM each other about the contest that we have participated in. We congratulated ourselves about achievements. We asked ourselves questions. We collaborated about resources. And yes, this is a really important lesson for you guys, that you should always try to network, to connect to guys that are close to your level, because you have something to provide each other, like that to me and me to him. So yes, from the end of the summer, we were chatting from time to time, and in the beginning of March 2024, like 6 months ago, I was on my new job, but I was feeling like I'm empty, I'm missing something, because I was constantly checking Bulgarian's channel, and I saw many guys are progressing and their results, and the space is super interesting, and I wanted to didn't want to miss the opportunity. So one day I sat down, I thought about it, and in that time, teams were starting to drag the attention. So I instantly thought of that, because something that I have noticed was that on some contests he was better than me, but in others I was before him in the leaderboard. So yeah, I'm managing how, if we combine our strengths, we can do better. We can teach each other our weaknesses and strengths, and so on. And yes, this is the beginning. Egis Sec, beginning of April this year, almost 6 months ago. And yeah, that can tell about himself.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I had some previous development experience. I was a Web2 backend developer with C# and Node.js. And I knew about Web3 security again from the Bulgarian Discord server, Bulgarian community, but I didn't think it was something for me. And I just kind of skipped over it for maybe about a year. And at my last job that I had, I just basically just got accepted into it. And I was like, I'm bored. A friend of mine told me, hey, I'm starting this Web3 security thing. It looks pretty cool. Do you want to do it? And I said I was bored, so I just decided to do it. No other particular reason. And from there, I went into it. This was again kind of a year ago, a year and a few months ago. I have no math experience or no math like degrees. I haven't hacked anything in my life. I just started basically from ground zero, and here we are, a year and a few months later. The one thing I do want to point out for just general people, newbies especially, people that are new to the space, is network with people. No, almost everyone, I would say everyone in the space is super nice, even though it's extremely competitive. I haven't met anyone that's been bad or just disrespectful, or even if he's way above my level. I think networking with people is a very good way to learn as well. You can just ask, you see someone get a nice issue, something really crazy. You can ask them, what were you thinking? How did you know about this? Whatever. So you can get a lot of like great information and alpha from just randomly DMing people. So I would say that is a huge, like a super, super important thing in the space. Just network with people, meeting people, because as you know, the space is very young. There aren't a lot of resources. There's a lot more resources now compared to a year ago, but still just asking people about their experiences, how they found things, their mindset is a fantastic way to learn, to just progress naturally. So I think that's very important, and I think everyone should do it. Now, I know everyone in this space is probably introverted, but just go for it.
I want to reinforce that. I want to reinforce that idea. Really open, contact everybody here. Get back to you. So
yeah, absolutely. I haven't met anyone. I've DM'd a lot of people. I haven't met anyone who's been just disrespectful to me in any way, no matter his skill level compared to mine. Everyone's been great. So that's something I recommend to everyone. Just randomly DM people, they'll probably answer. So yeah, that's just a very quick thing about us. And here we have just some of the first stages, basically of Egis Security and what we did wrong, and then how we kind of corrected the course. So Nick, you can talk about the first stage.
Yes, thank you. So guys, here we have split the past 6 months into 3 stages, and in each stage we have fixed something from the previous stage. So first stage, you can see big business here. These are maybe the first 2 weeks when I message that, and we created all these channels in Discord. You can see like marketing, sales, ghosts, all tools, public presence, and stuff like that. And this was on first days after we have decided to audit together, but we haven't tried even a single audit. We didn't know if we are going to fight. We didn't know anything. We are from the same city in Bulgaria. We haven't met each other, never. And yeah, so in the beginning, it is really important to focus on one and the most important thing in the service that you are going to do. And if you include other people, like we do a team, if the doing this service together will work for you, because you can both be really good apart, but if you are together, maybe you will fight or stuff like this. So the most important part in the beginning is see if you can do it, if it will work for you, if it is interesting, if it is your thing to do web security in team, especially in this case. So yes, after a week of this nonsenses, they are senses, but things that doesn't matter in the beginning, we decided to stop with that and focus on the important thing and start the contest. We realized that we should prove ourselves to others, to ourselves, that we can do good auditing. And yes, this is first stage. Paying too much attention, and that doesn't matter in the beginning. And yeah, that will continue with other stages.
So the big takeaway, I would say, from the beginning, when you're kind of forming, if you want to work with someone, and here we're talking about you want to work with someone or with some people and kind of more long term. So like not 6 months, 2 months, not a contest, but years in advance. You have to have the same goals. You have to communicate correctly what you want this thing that you're doing, what you want to do with it. Do you want to just be the best contest? Do you want to get more private clients, create a firm, something like Spearvet, something like Trailbits, whatever, Transform? You have to have the same goals. So this is probably the most important bit of being in a team, having great communication. So you have to just be able to talk with each other and be able to make compromises. Of course, here again, I'm talking about being in a long-term team. So you have to make compromises. You have to have great communication. You have to be able to just talk with your teammate about what's important. What do we want to do? What's important now? How should we get to what we're trying to achieve? So that's extremely important. Just in the day-to-day work of auditing, communication is also key, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So yeah, we just decided to go into contests. We started just doing a lot of, maybe a bit too much. We jumped into, for example, if a contest was like 7 days, we would do it 3 days and then jump on to the next one, which this yielded good results, but it could have yielded even better results. And this is something I actually kind of want to sidestep to. If you're a beginner, I recommend doing as many contests as possible and not thinking about where you're going to place, how much money you're going to get. Just learning in the beginning, especially. Just jump into a contest, do it for a couple days, don't finish it, and try to understand the code, find a few bugs, and jump onto the next one. This way, when obviously the audit finishes, the competition finishes, you can look at what you missed, and you have much more contests under your belt to look at. Obviously, you won't place well, you won't get, you won't win the contest, you won't get a lot of money. But in the beginning, learning is the most important part. So I would say, especially if you're a beginner, intermediate can do that as well if they feel like they're missing something, like some knowledge. They can do that as well, but that is the best way to learn. Absolutely, like no question about it. And that's one of the mistakes kind of we did in the beginning, where we were rapidly changing contests, even though we kind of really didn't have to. I would say we're intermediate. We're not like crazy good, but we're not beginners as well. So for us, that's when we kind of, after I would say like 3 months, we kind of decided, okay, first, the rapidly changing contests is extremely draining, especially when you take into account escalations and everything else, which I don't know, everyone loves escalations. So that's what we decided after a couple months to change it up, focus on larger contests, more difficult ones with bigger pots, bigger competition. That's when we kind of decided to move on to those type of competitions. And that's what we're kind of currently doing. But if we don't have private work, we're doing large contests with larger pots and much more code and much more difficult code. And that's, I would say, also what's the word? A natural way of getting more knowledge, just doing harder and harder things. That's the most important part, really. Just continuously doing harder and harder things. One way I would say how you should treat yourself as an auditor, you should treat yourself as if you're a professional athlete. So you should just train constantly. And training, in our case, means auditing. So you have to be auditing constantly, doing harder and harder things in order to progress. Basically, literally like a professional athlete. So yeah, that's kind of what we're kind of doing right now. And here we have our achievements for around 6 months. We're not going to go over all of them, but now I'm actually going to show a few of the issues we've found up to this point. Keep in mind, the issues that I'm going to show aren't super crazy. They're actually very simple, but what I'm trying to tell everyone is basically you don't have to know all issues that exist in the world that's possible. You should know how to find them. So what we're trying to show you is to drill into you the mindset of how you should find issues and what questions you should ask and so on. So let's actually go over the first one here. This was on the teller contest. This was a high unique issue. And the title is, if repay loan callback address doesn't implement repay loan callback try catch, won't go into the catch and will revert the transaction. Basically, if we just open a code. A quick thing about the protocol, the code base, it's a pretty standard lending and borrowing protocol, nothing too crazy. The one kind of interesting bit is actually this part of the code right here, this try catch.
Can I ask you something? Can you make the font a little bit? I guess you...
Is it good?
Yeah, way better, I think.
Okay. So this is just this callback, basically, which is called inside this internal function, which just sends funds into code itself when someone is repaying this loan. So the borrower, when he's repaying his loan, it's called right around here, and this is the last part. So basically, every time a borrower is repaying his loan, if this loan repayment listener is set, then the callback will be called. And the first thing, when we look at this, you might be thinking, well, even if for example, this function reverts, it's in a try catch, so it's going to go into the catch, and the transaction will still go through, like the main transaction, the big one. It will still go through. Even if this address is a contract and doesn't implement this function, it's still, the revert here is caught in the catch, and the main transaction still goes through, so nothing breaks. But what happens if you pass an EOA or a non-existent address as the loan repayment listener? There's no limitations on what this address can be. It just doesn't have to be address 0. That's the only limitation. So what happens? Well, this is a pretty weird thing about Solidity, I guess. If you pass in a non-existent address as the loan repayment listener and you try to call a function on it, it will actually not go into the catch. It will actually revert in the context of the main transaction. So it will revert the repay. So for example, if I'm a malicious borrower, I set a non-existent address as my loan repayment listener. When the borrower is repaying his loan, and we hit this line, the whole repay will revert. So basically, I'm stopping borrowers from repaying their loans, which is a huge problem in a lending and borrowing protocol. And as you can see, the issue itself is very simple. It's a high unique issue. It's very simple. It doesn't have any math in it. It's ridiculously simple, in fact. And how we found this was I was playing around in Remix and just passing random addresses right here. And then one time it just broke, and we basically found a high severity unique issue. What I'm trying to say is, just because the code looks simple, or you see a try catch and you're like, yeah, this is even if it reverts here, go after the catch. Make sure you try everything. Exhaust all your options. Just because the code looks simple, it doesn't mean that if there's a bug in it, that the bug is simple.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Like I don't find this for all. I find it like that you can just call a non-existing, go break something related.
Yeah, and this is known. Like there's a Reddit thread, or not a Reddit thread, but a Stack Overflow thread actually about this weird thing that Solidity's try catch does. But I've never seen an issue like a reported issue on Solidity, for example, about this sort of thing. Generally speaking, when you see a try catch, there's almost like a 99% chance that something can go wrong, because try catch is weird in Solidity, like very weird. And yeah, this is what I was trying to say. Even if something looks simple, that doesn't mean that there's no bugs in it. Believe me, this has bit me in the ass many times. Just because something looks ridiculously simple doesn't mean there's no bugs. And that's what I think most people probably thought when they looked at the bug, or not the bug, but the code. They saw this and they thought, oh, there's probably nothing here, and there was. So this is what I'm trying to kind of drill. Not the issue itself, but the thought process behind it. Exhaust all your options on every single piece of code. Just exhaust all your options, everything, and then continue. So yeah, that's the first one. The second one I want to show. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Just
Okay. Let's see. Now the second one was in the SOAP Fund contest in Sherlock. We're gonna send the links to all the issues. So we're done with the presentation, so you can look at them. Basically, what the protocol here is doing, let me just open the code, is we have a few functions that you can basically deposit some sort of ETH type coins, or you can just deposit ETH itself, and you can deposit Ether into these pools, which are, for example, this is wrap stake ETH, this is wrap ETH, and so on and so forth. And when you wrap your tokens, when you stake them, you'll get like share. The underlying mechanism of the protocol doesn't really matter here. So let's go over this function, and let's just go over it in this specific case. So when we call this, we want to deposit Ether. This doesn't matter for the point of the example. So we want to deposit Ether into this predefined pool, the wrap EETH pool. So we go in here, we send whatever message.value we want, and we go into this ETH to EETH internal function, which is right here. So we pass in the amount of Ether that we want to basically kind of swap to this EETH token, and we use this EETH liquidity pool deposit function. This doesn't matter what address we best here. So we basically deposit our ETH, and we're supposed to get this EETH token in return. Let's actually look at this. This is the actual deposit function that we're using on the EETH liquidity pool. As you can see, it's payable. So you send your message.value, it gets deposited. This is who's receiving basically the tokens, the recipient, how many tokens you're sending, and this doesn't matter. And then the value is returned. So if you go back, this is supposed to, as you can see even from the comment, it returns the exact amount of EETH tokens. Okay, so let's go back. And this is going to be the amount of EETH tokens that we've received when we wrapped our Ether. Then we go into this deposit predefined pool, which is right here, and we're going to, in this case, which is again the W or the wrapped EEF. Sorry, there's a lot of EEF going on. But yeah, we're supposed to go into this case, and we call this EEF to wrapped EEF function, which is this one right here. Here, we're passing in an amount, so an amount of EEF, and we're supposed to wrap it to wrap EEF. So this is kind of like the functionality is pretty similar to wrapped EEFer. You're just taking your EEF and you're just wrapping it to EEFer. And that's it. It just wraps the tokens and it returns the amount of wrapped EEF tokens. So we looked at this, and as you can see, the code looks, again, very simple. You're just taking EEFer, you're swapping it into another token, and that token is wrapped to its wrapped version. There's literally 4 lines of code going on here, excluding some of these extra things which don't matter. But there's actually an issue here, and it is a high severity issue. This was actually found by, I think, 3 people, including us. So if we actually go into right here, into this function, in this EEF liquidity pool deposit function, I actually showed it. And if you just straight up look at this, you might think, well, yeah, this returns the amount. There's no comments on saying what is actually returning, but just looking at it, you're probably going to assume it's returning the amount of tokens. And actually, this also says the same thing. Amount returns the exact amount of EEFer. But if we actually look into the deposit function, into the internal one, you're actually going to see that this returns shares. It doesn't return the amount of tokens that you got. It returns the amount of share that you got. So just to give a quick example, if we deposit, let's say, 1 EEFer right here, it's going to return us 0.9 shares. And this is what it's actually returning. It's returning shares. And this is a pretty big problem, because when we actually go here into this function, you're actually going to see that this wrap function, this is expecting the amount of tokens, the amount of EEF tokens, not the shares of EEF tokens. So if you're passing in 0.9 EEF, it's going to wrap 0.9 tokens. But remember, we deposited 1 EEF of tokens. So there's the difference, 0.10 tokens of EEF are lost because we wrap only 0.9 of them. And again, the issue itself looks very simple in it. When you look at it, if you just open this function, the external integration, and you look at this one as well, it literally says it returns shares. But the developers missed this, and a lot of auditors also missed this. What I'm trying to say here is, when you see an external integration of any sort, of whatever it is, Uniswap, AMMs, tokens, wraps, anything, make sure you open them and make sure you look into everything in them. Because some external integrations have this weird functionality where instead of tokens, they're return shares, for example. There are some external integrations that can be paused. This one can be paused as well. Some weird edge case might be hidden in the external integrations that you can use to get a bug. So just because it looks simple, doesn't mean there isn't a bug in it. This is a prime example of again, a pretty easy issue in an external integration. I feel a lot of people don't skip out completely on looking at any external integration. They just assume that it works, which is probably the worst thing you can do as an auditor. Never assume anything works. Assume everything's broken. Every single line is broken in some way until you confirm it's not broken. That's the best mindset to have as an auditor, and that's how you find these type of bugs. So yeah, that's basically it. Again, a very, very simple issue. Just make sure you double check everything. Don't assume anything works. Assume everything's broken, and check every external integration that the code you're auditing has.
Very nice way.
We'll link them after the presentation is done. And let me just.
Can you try to stop your sharing just to try if I can show finding?
Go ahead.
Just a quick. Okay. Can you just see my screen? Okay, should we go? Should I go with my finding? Do we have time? Maybe it's 15 minutes. Yeah, we have. Okay. Okay, guys. So actually, we have two more findings from one of our recent contests. It's basic. Yeah.
You guys seeing the screen?
I can see his. I don't know if ever see it.
But the first play. Can you please
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me? Yo, what's up? Thanks for the awesome presentation, guys. I just one question because you mentioned like the first finding with the trackage, right? You were doing some testing on Remix, just like by manually providing some addresses. Do you guys automate this kind of stuff, like writing fuzzing testing or fuzzing tests, which will generate the inputs for you, so you can save time on that, or you're just like mainly doing manual stuff?
Well, we mentioned that.
Or let me put it like differently. Have you found anything by writing tests like fuzzing ones or invariant ones or anything like that?
The actual issues that Mirchev is going to show right now are we found through testing, because manually testing these things was going to be a complete nightmare. You're going to see in a moment why, if we can get the presentation working. But we write tests when we feel like we need to write tests. So if something is like ridiculous, just it's going to take a long time just to test manually, we write a test for it. But I would say like 99% of the time almost all of our findings are just manual. We just work through the code manually and we find those. But there are those rare cases where we use tests for like some crazy things.
Oh, okay. Do you write invariant tests?
We do write unit tests, again, only if we kind of...
No, invariant. What unit?
Okay, there. No. We just do unit tests, fuzzing tests, and we just play around with Remix. Like if I think I just open Remix and just try some random things.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
from that?
Of course,
Okay, screen, brother.
Sorry, can you see it now? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I shared only my browser. I wanted to also show my VS Code with the comments, but we can skip that. I will go through the process and explain some of these post testings. So, okay, I think we can start. I will go fastly through the contest. It is about curve invariant calculation formula. So it is AMM protocol basin is a really large system, and for this contest, the scope was just really small code snippets implementing curves function to calculate reserves and liquidity. It is like you can imagine it as a Uniswap AMM function formula, but it's not the same constant product formula. It is different to be especially designed for stable swaps. So I want guys also to mention how and why we chose this contest, because I believe it is important thing to mention and really important thing to pay attention when you want to succeed. So when you open the contest page and scroll down, you can see this chart on the scope, and you see super large scope for the reward of 23,000. So initially, if someone just opened the page and see this, I'm sure they will just exit it and search for something else. And this time there was another contest, which was with almost the same reward pot in for Code Arena, and many people participated there, and the participation in this one especially was really low. I think submissions were around 130, and this is one of the reasons, in my opinion. But if you are persistent enough, you can see that the contract with largest scope is just hard-coded values, which are preloaded by a team to optimize the calculations. So those are, you can see, just hard-coded pre-calculated values, which are used later in the function calculation. And yes, and another scope, you can see it is below 300 lines of code, which again, they are super complex because it is pure mathematics, but this is really important to know and to think about when you choose your next contest. Be sure that you take into consideration the competition, because if you always jump to the easy contest, that means even if you find many findings, maybe you won't profit because they will have a lot of duplication. So, and now about the finding and the approach we use to find it. I will open this contract, which is the main contract in scope, which is responsible for this calculation of the formula. First of all, I want to mention that the functions here, these two, are copy-paste from Curve. It's not exactly copy-paste because Curve is in Viper, but they are duplicates. So that means it is really low probability to find something in forked scope of a really audited and famous protocol. So instantly we thought that we should focus on the things that are implemented by the team and protocol. Such functions are calc reserves at ratio swap and calc reserves at ratio liquidity. I won't go into details in each line because it is a complex one. We will link the issues if you're interested after that to go line by line and issue line by line. But I will focus just on the approach and what is the main problem. So both functions are calculating a reserve of one of the tokens based on their price ratios, and basically that's it. You provide price ratios, and you provide for which token you want this function to return the reserves, and you also provide reserves which are used only to scale the result. So reserves are not important, but the important part is you have price ratios between the tokens, and the function should calculate the resulting reserve for jade token in the pair in the array based on Curve's invariant formula. So such Curve's logic to calculate it, it's a complex one, because here we see that we have a lot of for loops which are doing a lot of computation. So the team has implemented this lookup table with pre-calculated and pre-loaded values for some different price ratios. You can see here. So this is high price. This is for price ratio of this value. Those are the resulting reserves between the tokens in the pool. And the same if for this price ratio between the tokens, those are the resulting reserves based on Curve formula. So, sorry. The interesting part here. we spent a lot of time researching that, guys. So don't be shocked if you don't understand. The interesting part here is how this function works. We fetch the closest pre-calculated value from a lookup table to our provided ratios. So we provide those ratios and we call this function, which gives us the closest value to our target price. And here is how we calculate our target price based on the ratios provided by the client. Then we start modifying reserves from this pre-calculated value, and we try to start modifying the reserves in such a way that we want to, if our current price fetched from the lookup table is above the target price, we calculate the reserves in such a way that we make the price go down. This thing is happening inside this for loop. And here I have a visualization for you, so it is easier to imagine the whole process. This behavior is called Newton's method, and it is used to converge repeatedly into a target price. So what's happening here? If we have reserves, those values are real values that I have used for the vulnerable scenario. So we have two price ratios, and the price for the one token in terms to the other token is this value here, which you can imagine is 0.15, etc. So we calculate this as a target price, and we call lookup table function to search for the closest value, which we have already calculated the reserves through the curves formula. And this is the pre-calculated value, which is closest to our target. Here you can see. Yes, those are the values, and our target is a little bit below this price. So we fetch those reserves and we start to modify them in such a way that we want to change the price, and the price is obtained from curves pricing formula. We want resulting price to be close enough to the target, and then we return those modified reserves. On each iteration, we are recalculating reserves, and here you can see date reserve function. What is it actually doing? We have a max step size, and this is argument which we use to define the value with which we should modify the reserves. So just imagine it. We have starting price. We have starting price 0.16, etc. And we compare it with the target price. We decide, the function decides, oh, target price is below our current, so we should increase reserves for the search token. As we increase the reserves, its price drops, and this update reserves calculation function, it is doing this calculation. I won't go into details, but you can see it is using target price and current price. So it does matter what is the difference between low and high price inside the lookup table. And we can notice that for the extreme ratios, this is the high price, this is the low price. And you can see the difference between two is much larger. For example, in comparison with these two and in these two. So we notice a big inconsistency about especially this scenario. And This is important because those two are used to calculate the step with which we recalculate the reserves. So this is the expected behavior. We want each time to do a jump, then compare the current price for that jump. This is current price for that jump. We compare it with the target price, and if it is in a threshold of a 0.01%, we return the resulting reserve. If it is not, we continue with the for loop, and then again we recalculate the reserves, and for the recalculated reserves, we check what is the price. And, again, and as you can see, this is the final value, which is 99 above this value, which is in the threshold of 100. So we return in this function code. Here, if current price minus target, or the opposite, is in the price threshold, we return, and we are happy. We have returned the resulting, the queried reserve about this token. But what is going on in our example is that calculating steps is the step on each calculation is so big that we overjump the target price. This is also from the real vulnerable example, and you can see we start from the high price, which is closest to the target from all other our examples, which is far from the expected behavior. Expected behavior is each iteration is closer, and closer, but here we have start from high price, and when we enter calculate reserves, the value is so big that the modified reserves result in a price ratio of 0.020, etc. Then we enter the else branch in update reserves. You can see if one branch is if the target is higher, the other branch is if the target is lower. So we repeatedly will enter either this or this until we exit the function, until we exhaust the whole for loop of 255 iterations. And yes, you can see we come here on zero iteration, we are here. Then first iteration, we overjump the target here. Then we overjump, and instead of going closer and closer, we repeatedly jump it. So in this case, the impact isn't very big because the scope is really abstract. We only should audit the pricing formula, and in this case, this leads to vulnerable calculation. But in the scope, we will return the default value for reserve, which is 0. And you can see if we exit, nothing happens. We return 0. There is no revert. There isn't, because maybe if they update reserve here inside the for loop, and if we exit, the impact would be bigger because we return the farthest reserve for the reserve for the price, which is the farthest from target, which is really bad. So how did we uncover it? We did a lot of debugging on everything that you see here. We used Foundry. They had a good test suite, and we were like so walk everything, like step size here, and inside this function I had maybe more than 10 console walks. Here inside the for loop, after the for loop, you can see inside the report really beautiful walk representation, which is giving really good impression of what is going on. This is our target price. This is the value returned from the lookup table, which we have reserves for it. And here is the target price in each iteration. And instantly we notice that we are going farther and farther away from the target. So I started to debug it. I wanted to do a quick first test because this mathematical thing, you can't just ask what if we go here, what if we go here, and you have this massive collection of values, and you can't just manual review everything. So I did a quick first test. It was maybe 15 lines. I did it really quick, and when I ran it, everything went smooth. I didn't notice some vulnerable scenario or something. And then I noticed that here in the end, if we exit, we don't revert or anything. And I wanted to understand if there is a scenario for which we don't converge into reserve and we exit the for loop. So I added the revert statement here, like this. And again, I ran the first test, and I found values for which we reach this value here. Then I grabbed those two ratio values because they are the important part, because we fetch the pre-calculated value based on those ratios. And actually the root is that the difference between low and high price in this. Sorry, I lost it. But yes, then I started again debugging why is it broken, why we exit. And when I walked everything in this format here, instantly I understood that we are jumping over the target price and that this is a problem. So yeah, regarding the question of post testing, this is a really good example that it helped us here. And we managed to secure a good spot on this contest with this unique finding. Actually, we have another unique finding, which is super close to this one. I won't go in details as the first one, but again, the problem is that there is a value in the lookup table for which the step size calculations are vulnerable. But here, instead of over jumping, we calculate so much step size that when we try to calculate the reserve, to recalculate here in the update reserve, it results in underflow on that line. And the following issue, I believe, is also impossible to find with manual review. You can think, is it possible to have such scenarios, but it is impossible to spot it? Yeah, for sure. For this value here, we will have underflow. So I believe in such contests and scopes, it is useful to try first testing, debugging with tests, to experiment, to just be curious, because we started debugging and actually that did find this bug with the underflow, and he did find it when he was just debugging to understand what is going on. So he was using their tests and a lot of console walks. He wanted to visualize step by step how is the convergence method working, and boom, he did find this unique finding. So I hope you guys understand the important, and we will link also this finding. It is really interesting, but you should also check how curves formula work. I would recommend Smart Programmer videos. They helped us a lot. And yeah.
Very nice talk, guys. Very nice talks. I'd like to know if the audience has any sort of question. Here, I'm going to invite everybody to bikes and questions that have enjoyed those trainings while they here. MRI, that country. Okay. Any of you guys have questions?
It looks like a lot of people are.
Yeah, if you don't hear right now, we are open to answer your DMs, so it's not necessarily right.
I think they're shy today because the Hayes brands are actually bike and everybody's saying no, which means that you guys were really good explaining what you guys brought us to. Any other message you guys want to leave before we finish? Paul?
Maybe that can go fastly through the how we communicate and the team process. I think it's important.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was gonna say. If as a team, what you're looking for is good communication. You want to be constantly talking, constantly brainstorming, and I'm not talking about just like talking in terms of talking through Discord. You can just do it through DMs if you want, whatever's comfortable for you. We personally do a lot more DMs than we actually talk, but just be in constant communication, because when you talk with someone, you're saying what you're thinking, and then they can interpret it in a different way, which can lead to a different finding. So just be in constant communication, have compromises. Like if he doesn't want to do something, or if he says this is invalid, whatever, then I'll have to look at it through his prism as well. So just be in constant communication. Talk all the time, like all the time.
Awesome. That's a great tip for sure. I mean, communication is key with development, especially with auditing, and validate a lot of your ideas by talking about them. Guys, I want to thank you so much. Please go on.
Yeah, I want to just to mention that I have shared here's some screenshots of our communication channels and how we mark some of our leads and findings just to organize the communication. It was part of this talk. So yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Your last slide, do you want to show those? So we follow you guys and
Sure. Yeah, if you have some questions, guys, don't hesitate to DM us anytime after the presentation, or yeah, we will be really happy to provide something valuable for you besides this presentation.
I think Tech is doing a great work, and I can definitely why you guys are rocking this, as you guys are rocking. I would like to see more calls like these where we go deep, dive into what they think amazing, and thank you guys for putting the attention. We had a few iterations with our group talk, and I think it turned out perfect. Well, thank you so much for time. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this free community. Hey guys.
Sure, well, thank you so much about your invitation.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure for me to have both of you guys here. I'm gonna leave for guys questions. If no questions, I'm gonna feed the talk. I have one question here from my friend, and he's asking, when did you decide to give your Web2 jobs?
This is actually a very good question. We decided, I would say, quite a bit late because of some personal reasons that we don't have to go into. But my tip, why we left, we wanted to do this full time. We wanted to do Web3 security full time. Our jobs, we were developers. It was considerably more boring than being an auditor. I'm sure most developers that are, that have been developers know what I mean. Auditing is much more fun. We wanted to just grow into this industry. But what I wanted to say is, if you can go full time into Web3 security, like if you have another job, but if you have the possibility of going full time, and I mean if you have enough money, no real crazy responsibilities, just jump into it as fast as possible. You will not regret it, believe me. I believe Dead Roses actually talked about this during the interview he had like a month ago. There is, if you don't have anything to lose, like you don't have a family, you don't have any like financial responsibilities, whatever, just jump straight into it as fast as possible. You not regret, because there's no, you can only go up. There's no real going down. Even if you fail, there's like nothing to lose.
Awesome stuff, bro. Other question I have here is, how were you able to audit as much as possible while you had a
Oh, that was a massive pain. That was, we audited during work, after work, before work, basically at any time we could audit, we audited. We actually, when we started Egis Security, when we started the team, I left like 1 month after we started. Like I left my full-time job, and Nikki actually left like 4 months or 3 months after we started. But it's very draining. It's ridiculously draining, especially when you have like a high tempo, just constantly working. It's very draining. I don't know how we did it. Like I don't have a real answer. We just grinded like we were crazy, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I want also to mention here that if your full-time job isn't so engaging, like you can put only 2 or 3 hours per day, and you think you can combine them, it's not quite possible, because the focus is really important. So when you don't have other distractions, your performance go super high. So yeah.
Awesome. Other question that I have here is, both of you are audited. Will you be in a call for the whole day, or do the hours meet or brainstorming? What you know? How do you guys? I want to know, how do you guys audit together? I think the question is, do you guys do meetings all day long? Do you guys do block hours? So 2-3 hours? What is the process there?
Yeah, really good.
Like a time schedule, or we don't schedule things. We're kind of freestyling everything basically. Like if we feel we have to do a call, we'll do a call. But generally, our team process, I would say, is when we start auditing, we are basically doing 2 solo audits on the same code base. We don't break up the code into, oh, I'll take this part of the code, Nikki, you take this part of the code. We audit the entire code base by ourselves. And throughout that time, we're constantly writing down leads, DMing, hey, what do you think about this, da da da. And generally, we'll have a call after we kind of got the hang of the code base. So after maybe like the first day and a half, depends, of course, how difficult the code is. So once we got the code, like we know what's going on, we'll do a call, talk about what we should focus on, kind of go through some areas that maybe I didn't understand. So he'll explain it to me, and the other way around. Then, like at the end of the audit, we'll also do another call, just going through all our leads again for like the 15th time. Go over all our leads, see, can we do something? Can we exploit them? Is there a bug here? And validate everything if something is invalid. Report issues, and just brainstorm. Kind of at the end, you do more brainstorm. And in the middle, like when we're actually like the meat of the audit, like when you're actually auditing, you're looking for bugs. We'll do calls from time to time. It depends on really kind of the situation. We'll do a call if maybe you want to just brainstorm something, like he has an idea that he can't really explain to me through chat, so we'll just hop in a call. Or if we just he wants to show me something, I want to show him something. So we just kind of freestyle it. You know, we talk when we feel like we need to talk.
Amazing stuff. You guys are in sync. That's very interesting. Okay, more question, guys.
I think there's someone in the actual call, Yovchef Yuan. I don't know if he actually wants to say something. There's also a few people that have raised their hands. I don't know if they want to ask something.
You're actually very lame. You don't have questions for us, bro. Silver Beast, very lame. You don't have questions for us. Paspit, very lame. You don't have questions for us. But that's okay. I understand. It's still too early in the week. Oh, Pyrus typing. So finally,
Actually, Silver Mist and Pyro and Samurai are pretty good friends of ours. Just draft list.
No, that's why I'm talking that. That's why I'm talking that. I know you guys come close and you guys are the Bulgarian Creole. That's okay. Guys, thank you so much for coming today. I love you guys' work. That was an amazing talk. I'm pretty sure gonna be talking with you guys again in a few months. So we can put an update on that. Thank you so much. There's a lot of knowledge there. I think the message here is working a team, getting as soon as possible. You know, do your thing. I mean, this is quite cool. Was a pleasure to have you guys over. You guys have any sort of last message that will hear this?
Don't give up. Exactly.
Yeah, be curious, not lazy.
Here's not
Be curious.
this is a very hard one, pretty hard one, but we can do it. We can do it. Guys, thank you so much. I'm finishing the call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna closing in. Bye bye, guys.
Bye, guys.